Hello guys, I wanted to speak with you today about some groundbreaking revelations released by the FBI in regards to the Saudi involvement in the 9/11 terrorist attacks. So, recently, over the last, since July of 2021, and then further developing in September of 2021, and then finally, now that we have a full picture in May of 2022, we now have a much better understanding of Saudi Arabia's direct involvement with the hijackers on 9/11. So it turns out I may have been too kind to Saudi Arabia in the past by calling them an evil regime that needs to go away, that needs to disappear. That was far too kind. It turns out that they are essentially their own terrorist organization. At Saudi Arabia, not only do they spread their evil ideology, Wahhabism, but they also fund terrorism itself. That has been now there are a few things that we already knew. So what did we know before these revelations, before these documents were released by the FBI under Biden's orders? Which, by the way, credit to Biden for actually releasing this, or actually demanding that this information be released finally after it's only been 20 years. So what we knew before was that 15 of the 19 hijackers on 9/11 were Saudis, and Osama bin Laden himself was a Saudi. He was some kind of Saudi prince from a Saudi royal family before moving his Al-Qaeda operation to Afghanistan. So, right off the bat, the vast majority of these terrorists who hijacked, the actual people who hijacked the planes and crashed them into the World Trade Centers, into the Pentagon, and into the field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, that they were Saudis. Most of them were Saudis themselves, and Saudi nationals, and Osama bin Laden himself, who was a Saudi national living in Afghanistan, operating his terrorist organization, Al-Qaeda, which, so that's what we knew previously. And we also knew that Saudi Arabia had always been the primary funder of Al-Qaeda. So from the very beginning, we knew that Saudi Arabia was funding Al-Qaeda. But what we now know, which apparently there was this operation under the FBI stemming all the way back to the late 90s and into 2000, before, there were some major pieces coming together that involved Saudi Arabia, which the FBI was keeping tabs on well before 9/11, almost 2 years before 9/11 occurred. The FBI was well aware of Saudi's involvement in this terrorist activity that was, I don't know if they understood completely that these were terrorists at the time, but there were parts moving in this direction, and clearly we didn't do enough to prepare ourselves or to fully understand the involvement of this of Saudi Arabia. So I want to give you a couple of names that are important to remember. So there are 6 names that I want you to pay attention to. I'm going to read them here. They're the only 6 names I'm really going to be discussing, which is all part of the revelation of the FBI documents under their Operation Encore. So there are 4 members of the Saudi government who are directly involved, who are implicated in this FBI document release. The 4 names that are implicated here are Prince Bandar bin Sultan Al Saud, who is a Saudi U.S. ambassador. He was a U.S. ambassador from, I believe, 1983 to 2005. He was Saudi ambassador to the United States from the 80s until the mid-2000s. So, and then there's Musaid al-Jarrah, and he was a Saudi embassy director of Islamic affairs and a member of the GIP, or General Intelligence Presidency. This is Saudi Arabia's intelligence agency, similar to the CIA, of course, but but Saudi-led and Saudi-operated. Then there is Fahad al-Tumeri. He was part of the Office of Dawah, and which was managed inside and from the Saudi embassy, the Office of Dawah. And he's also has ties to the King Fahad Mosque in San Diego, California. And then finally there's Omar al-Bayoumi. He was paid by the GIP, the General Intelligence Presidency, and by the Dala Avco, that is a Saudi Arabian aviation company. So those are the four members of the four members of the Saudi Arabian government who had direct ties with the Saudi Arabian government, who I'm going to explain to you have direct ties to terrorists who hijacked the planes on 9/11. So there's Prince Bandar, and then there's Jarrah, Tumeri, and Bayoumi. Bandar, Jarrah, Tumeri, and Bayoumi. Those are the four names that of the people who were directly tied to the Saudi government, who were in direct contact and coordination with 2 of the 15 hijackers on 9/11, which has been which has all been revealed here by this Operation Encore, which took forever for some reason to finally be released. It only got released under President Biden's orders, which may have very directly caused, since last July, caused a major rift in the Saudi government with the Biden administration. Thankfully, a cooling off of the U.S. presidency's relationship with the Saudi government had been continually cooling off since the Bush administration, which now seems like they were almost in direct collaboration with the Saudis. I mean, in a lot of ways they were. So those are the four names of the people associated with the Saudi government who were operating inside of the United States and communicating with 2 of the 15 Saudi 9/11 terrorists, of the 19 terrorists who were involved on 9/11 in hijacking those planes. So the two Saudi hijacker terrorists who were in direct communication with these four Saudi members of government, the four people I mentioned before, the two terrorists who were communicating with them were Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Midhar. So, and again, these names are very hard to pronounce. I don't speak Arabic, but I'm doing my best. So these two hijackers, Hazmi and Midhar, were in direct communication with not Jarrah and Bandar themselves, but with Tumeri and Bayoumi. So it's important to understand that Prince Bandar was the Saudi U.S. ambassador. He was kind of the one in charge of the whole operation. And then there was so Bandar was coordinating this all sort of through the Saudi embassy, and this Saudi embassy ran Islamic organizations such as in the embassy itself there were religious offices, namely the Islamic Affairs Department and the Office of Dawah. So, and a European study goes to say that Saudi Arabia is known to have spent over $10 billion on spreading Wahhabism, much to Al-Qaeda. This is just a side note thing, that Saudi Arabia has spent over $10 billion in the spreading of Wahhabism, and a lot of it went to Al-Qaeda. So we've got those guys who were involved, so Hazmi and Midhar were the two terrorists who were involved in this and mentioned in the plot, and they both got on Flight 77 leaving DC's Dulles International Airport and then rerouted it to crash into the Pentagon.